So we're sitting out back here, and Meg just made some scones. They're going to be coming out of the oven here in a minute. And we were trying to find an adapter, all this other stuff that we couldn't find it. So we were meant to do this right before the scones came out of the oven. But it's really cool. She actually planted the. Oh, this is weird.
I didn't plant them. I got from a friend. I got a whole bunch of raspberries, and I planted them at the community garden. And they did so well that they were coming out of the community garden box. Like, they were just coming out of there. So I decided, well, I kind of want some for my yard. And this is probably like 5 years ago, something like that. And so I planted them in one area of the garden, and then they just kept sprouting up. And so I planted them in another area of the garden, and then they kept sprouting up. So I actually have them in 4 areas of the garden, or in our yard. So I have these wonderful red raspberries and these wonderful champagne raspberries, and the red raspberries are ready. So they're going. I have a lot of them, so I picked about a cup and a half worth and made scones out of them.
Yeah, pretty cool. If you're listening to this and you can hear somebody cutting down using a chainsaw, I think they're cutting down the tree. Yeah, I think that's what that is. So that's the tree from the yellow house. The yellow house was, we had actually, we were really close to owning the yellow house. And some procedural thing fell through with the bank.
We were on vacation.
No, it wasn't the bank, it was the city, because we were just going to buy it. So it was a city-owned house. The city owned it. It was going to be sold for $5,000.
Yeah.
But we had just bought another house right before that for $15,000. And that house was empty. And because it was empty, the city wouldn't let us buy the scones ready. The city wouldn't let us buy that house. If you want to go get them, I'll just talk about that real quick. Yeah. So the city, and it's not like no judgment, no fault of the city. They just they didn't know. They didn't know they didn't really know what we were trying to do, and basically, and at that point, I don't even know if we really knew what we were trying to do. So this was back probably 4 years ago, and we were driving out to go to a fish show in Washington, and frantically trying to communicate with the bank to show the city that we had enough money to buy the house, so we could get our offer in. And it was actually the second time that we were trying to buy a city-owned house, and it fell through. I could actually probably talk to you about the other time too, but maybe on a different day. So we basically it fell through, and one of the things about that house, and the thing I was actually the most worried about, I wasn't worried about doing a full renovation on a place. I mean, that's not it's a lot of work, but it's not impossible. It could just takes a while. But one of the biggest things that and this whole thing happened. Let's see, that was when we went to Washington. It was probably 2017. I want to say 17 or 18. 2017. Yeah, 2017. Well, anyways, it was the last time fish played at the gorge, so I guess I'd have to go back and look. 2017, 2018. So on the way out there, fell through and whatever. So one of the big my big kind of hang up is there's a massive tree right in the middle of the backyard, and this is a city lot, and city lots aren't very big. So a massive tree in the middle of the yard that had fallen down, and I had been wondering ever since 2017. So the sale of the house fell through. And somebody else got it, and a nice guy. He's been working on that house for forever. Really slow progress. In fact, the house that I had bought, I renovated almost my brother-in-law helped out, my dad helped out, but I mean, really, it was just me doing it. So renovated that place, and I've been done with that for a year now. So, I don't know I'm not sure what the holdup is or what's going on. Which, I mean, honestly, that's really not very good for the neighborhood. I mean, the guy was very well intentioned, really not, a nice guy, just probably got in way over his head, figured I could buy a house for $5,000 renovated and then rent it out, and I got make himself a nice little profit, nice little investment. But doesn't usually always work. It doesn't typically work out that way. And he's going to be so upside down on the renovations because he's hiring all this out. And I mean, you buy a house for $5,000, you put $30,000 worth of work, worth of materials into it. So your net, you got 35 into it, but he's paying for all this labor. So he's probably going to end up 65, 70, 80 into it. Probably not going to be able to resell it for more than 50 if he's lucky. So that's going to be probably taken out on the tenant, you'd have to assume, right? Like, he's got to get his money from somewhere. Still a good investment. He's probably still going to get 15% return, maybe 17. But it's not going to be the same as, like, it's going to be taken out on the tenant probably. If honestly, if the place ever gets finished. So, I might approach the guy at some point and see if he wants to sell it to us, or what's he like, where's he stuck, what does he kind of need, I don't know, what does he need. But so that chainsaw is in the background of whatever Meg and I are about to talk about, and they're cutting down that tree right now. So that's actually really great because it had like fallen over and really looked like it was gonna like fall onto the garage or onto the house. And this was back, whatever year we're in now, 2020. This was back 2-3 years ago that it had fallen. That 2-3 years ago that I had noticed that it had fallen down because I went into the yard to look to see like if I could break into the house to go look at it, and I could, and I did. So, anyways, so that's what that noise is if you can hear it. Meg's inside still grabbing the scones out of the oven and is going to bring them out. Oh, and there she is. So, yeah, I was just kind of talking about how that tree's been falling down. What year did we go to Washington? 2017 or 2018?
Washington was just 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh, so maybe it was 18.
Yeah.
Did we go to Glacier last year?
No, that was the same year we went to Washington.
Oh, okay. So it was 2018. So that was 2 years ago. That makes sense. Or does it? It was the same year that we bought the blue house.
Yeah.
Is that 18? Well, I don't know. All the years are blending together, just like all the days. Okay, so what we're actually here to talk about is I just was on a run, and I up until last year, I had pretty much done the same loop like every day. I drove my car out of the inner city to a really nice neighborhood. I'm assuming pretty diverse, like, wouldn't you think? Over like by where the Pizza Man is, and
college students. So yeah. So
like it's all really nice, like really nice houses. But I would say like I wouldn't be surprised if it mirrors just a general diversity of the population.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that that's like a hyper segregated place.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's college students, and when you have college students, I think you have more diversity. I don't know.
Well, it's probably a lot of professors too live over there.
Yeah.
It's definitely a wealthier area.
Yes.
Which is why we couldn't afford to live there.
Yeah.
We probably could now.
I'd like to ask you the question.
Yeah.
So you said that you used to run over there every single day. When did you start running from our house? Because I've always ran around our house.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you do that?
I didn't. I guess maybe I just didn't see the value as much of running. I mean, a lot of it happened.
So you would get up extra early in the morning so you could drive somewhere and run. I mean, maybe it was because you were running by the lake. That
I mean, it's running by the lake.
It's beautiful.
It really is, and I really like that area. I think I always kind of wish that we lived over there, or like I would, like, I don't know if fantasize is the right term, but like I'd fantasize about living there and like what it would be like to, have like a really cool older house, which I mean we do now, but like a really cool older house with a giant yard, which I guess we do now, and like be pretty well off and just like that lifestyle. Like I would like to have that lifestyle of living over there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having that lifestyle and living over there.
It seems very easy.
Yeah, it does seem actually really easy. I'd like it. Yeah, I would like it.
Yeah.
So, and the houses are big and they're
very interesting to look at. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of neat things to look at.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but yeah, so I guess honestly, I mean, if I had to like boil it down into like a slogan or something, I mean, I would say like I started running from here because I saw a lot more value in
That's
here than I did.
Yeah.
I saw the beauty in here as much
Yeah.
as I saw the beauty in, and there's,
neat.
and like when I look at a house here and I see a really, really nice, cool looking house in the ghetto, it
means so much more.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
People work on it. Like the red house down the street. Like, he's lived here for like forever, for 50 or 60 years. And, he has such a beautiful house. He has strawberries in the back. There's a beautiful little area where him and his wife are sitting all the time. It's such a nice area. And then right next door is a foreclosed house where the city never cuts the lawn.
Yeah.
And on 5th of July, I ran past, and there was probably 40 huge fireworks right outside of his house. And he didn't do it. He's an old guy. Like, I was mad for him. Like, that had to be really annoying.
So I don't know why I decided that one day to go run over there. Just seemed like, I don't know, I just kind of missed it. I like running by the lake. And by the way, did you know how many black people I saw exercising today?
Really?
And on that day when I ran? It's like, I've never seen that before. And so today I went for a run with my sister, a longer one, kind of in that same area. And it was very different.
Really?
Very different.
Is it just because you're doing it now, or because you're noticing, or because...
I for sure would have noticed.
Huh.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
when you're a white person living in a black neighborhood, you notice
Yeah.
when there are black people in a white neighborhood.
Yeah.
You notice that. Or like when you're at the lake, like you notice the racial makeup of what's
Yeah.
what is going on around the lake. So today we went for a run along the lake, and like it's a big, beautiful stretch of park space, and it's real open, and you can social distance really easily, and there's tons of paved pathways that you can run down, and the Calatrava, the art museum, is right there, and Discovery World, and so it's a beautiful place to run. And I just had never seen that many African American people exercising over there. And honestly, when I've been biking on the bike path lately, on the Oak Leaf Trail, same thing. So I don't know. That was just when you notice something like that, you wonder like, well, why? I didn't see that before, and now I see it. So we saw this. So I saw this that picture, and again, if you're listening to this, that picture is the one that's next to like our like audio. It's a picture of, and I guess if you're not, I could just describe it. But it's basically like one of those spray paint outlines, like where an artist cut out like a piece of cardboard, and the face of it is George Floyd, and instead of rest in peace, like which would be like what it would normally say, it says rest in power, and that was spray painted on a bus stop, the glass of a bus stop in that area. It was probably like an 8 by 11 size, maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay.
It wasn't gigantic, and it wasn't obtrusive. It was just like a hashtag BLM size,
Yeah.
So like it probably could have fit on a piece of paper, or like,
was this on Downer?
Yeah, it was on Downer on the bus stop. And I had never heard that phrase before, rest in power. So what do you think that means? Like rest in, like,
I think it means his life wasn't in vain. His life is actually much more powerful than he would have ever thought, and that his life and his death has a bigger purpose.
So does that mean before he died, his life was I mean, does that mean that, I'm not trying to be snarky or sarcastic, like I'm just asking, like,
are you saying
how many people do we know in our neighborhood who how, like, I don't know who sprayed. Okay, let's back up 5
Sure.
steps. Who do you envision spray painted that? What do you envision the person look like that spray
I envision a
painted
millennial white girl. Yeah.
that? Okay. You 10 years ago.
Exactly.
15 years ago.
Yes. Oh, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Like it's beautiful. It's really well done.
Yeah.
It's like seems like something that like it's kind of artsy.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you could have created that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I could have copied it from somebody else who
Yeah.
done it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Allison Lassner could have made it for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could see you like, oh yeah, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna show,
Yes.
I'm gonna spray paint this at the bus stop.
Yeah. This will show them.
All right, so think about the so we've lived here for 14 years. Think about the like 16 year ago version of you. Those scones are really great, by the way.
Thank you.
Just,
Okay. So how old am I? 16 years.
so you're 33. No, you're 39
Yeah.
now. So 20. Like let's say like you're 22.
Okay.
You just graduated college. You're a year out of college. Like, would you have ever thought that, like, would that version of you have ever thought some random person up in Minnesota that, like what is the general what was the general perception of him before he got murdered?
Yeah. Honestly, I imagine it. I don't know if you remember that one guy, and I don't remember the story very well, but there was this one guy on Burleigh, and I feel like it was a similar story. Like, he stole something from that, or maybe it was like the shop owner that got beat up. I don't know, but I imagine, like, do you know that the corner store on Burleigh that you see all these people outside of right off of Holton.
Yeah.
I imagine it like a place like that is where he went and used the fake money or something. You know, like I imagine it a place like that. So I imagine a guy that would hang out outside of a place like that.
And what would you how would you think differently about how have you decided that you think differently about that now? Like what is it about your experiences that have made you see the value in, because that's what this is all about, right? Like this is all about like the collective whatever that means for you as an individual listening to this, and like as me as an individual saying it, the collective we has made a situation where we don't value black lives to the point where we have to say Black Lives Matter, and we have to like, and the one thing that we have all agreed that it's almost I mean, the idea that Black Lives Matter, I mean, like it's almost so absurd that it has to be said, which is why it's probably like a really good slogan for the movement, but because it's like, yeah, no shit. Obviously, everybody's life matters.
The fact that we have to say Black Lives Matter, I think just means how much, like, it's like you're giving yourself confidence. Like, I am smart, I am beautiful. You know, it's like when you are like giving a talk, you like need to give yourself confidence, and it's almost like you need to like, hey, remember, this matters. Like, this is why we need to say it over again.
That's really interesting, because that's almost like, when I walk by a Black Lives Matter sign or like some type of like protest, it's not even protest, like some sort of like promotion of that mentality. It's almost like it's saying, hey, remember? like an advertisement for like
hey, don't
drink
forget.
Coke.
Yeah.
You know? Like, oh yeah, I like drinking a Coke, so I'm gonna go do that. Like, oh yeah, they do actually matter. Huh. Yeah, it's sad.
When I go by protests, I almost cry every time. I get choked up because I think this is great. This is so great. Finally, you know, like,
true, yeah.
You know, like, yes, I'm not out
time.
there at the protest, but I don't know why it gets to me every time I go by a protest. Even that one that we went by in South Dakota that had 4 people.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? People are getting this movement, and it's exciting.
See, because what's the flip side of Black Lives Matter? It's that they don't. And
Yeah.
I feel like we could probably sit here and talk for hours about what we have seen that says that Black lives don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that that tree has been uncut over there at that house, like it has fallen down.
Yeah.
And
wasn't it on electrical cords?
I don't know. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that that tree's been left to exist there like that for...
No, there was like electrical cords down there, and obviously they weren't on, but like, not good. Not good at all.
Well, and a tree that had fallen down in Lake in the Hills, Illinois, where I am from.
It's being cleaned up the next day.
Or like something is being done about it.
Yeah.
And because we wouldn't want our kids playing around a tree that had fallen down. It's unsightly for the neighborhood if we have trees that are falling down. It's bad for the property values if trees have fallen down. It's just unbecoming, and it's not who we want to represent ourselves as being. And we all will, if we need help getting that done, we'll get help to get it done. And here, it just sits there.
For how long?
Well, it's been at least 2 years.
Wow. Huh.
I feel like saying Black Lives Matter, like it's almost, and I know we're not even really, I didn't know that we were going to be talking about Black Lives Matter, but it's almost like we all need that reminder.
Yeah.
Like, as a white person, we need those reminders.
Yeah. Because society has brought me up to tell me that my life is more worthwhile than a Black lives.
Well, and your life is valuable.
I agree, but I agree that Black lives are shown all the time that their lives don't matter.
Well, here it's very obvious that they don't, because I mean that tree is one of 1,000 things. I mean, you could close my eyes, put a blindfold over me, spin me around, and tell me to point, and I can show you why that's not okay, and why, and like what like letting something happen in a space like we live, like what that does to the psyche of the people that live there.
Yes.
So I think Black Lives Matter. It's like you're saying. By the way, just so that if you're listening to this for some reason, you should keep in mind that we live in a neighborhood. So for the last 14 years, we lived in a neighborhood that is 99.2% non-white, and there are less than 300 white people based on the last round of mid-census data. Less than 300 white people that live here, and the median household income is $24,000 a year. So we make significantly more than that, multiple times more than that, and we are white. So what I wanted to say was, and I just want to just keep saying that just so that if you're listening and you don't know that, you have that as a frame of reference. So it's almost like Black Lives Matter, like saying it for like, it's a reminder for a white person that a Black life matters, and it's also a reminder for a Black person that their life matters. And I think at some point, I don't know how this is going to happen or how this is going to play out, but like, couldn't you see at some point like this whole thing like being connected and like saying like, guys, like you force us, at least in Milwaukee, force us to live in the poorest, most rundown area of the city. Yeah. Like, this is me as speaking for a large portion of African Americans. The 29,700 of them that live here.
Sure.
So, you force us to live in an area of high concentrated poverty. The schools are substandard. They try the best that they can, but what are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to educate kids that are coming? When the house that now I'm pointing to a house about, what is that, like 200 yards away?
Yeah.
I'm pointing to a house that's 200 yards away that had a police raid one night. The police were outside yelling at them to get out of the house. And this isn't an anti-police statement. This is just what happened. Until 11 o'clock at night. There are kids that live... my kids live here.
There were kids inside that house.
So
there were kids inside that house.
So...
The mom was inside that house.
Let's say...
The dad was inside. Like, there were... And they're... I mean, yeah, they're breaking the window. They're breaking the door.
Sure, yeah, I guess they did break the door down. So
at the garden, I talked to a little girl that was related to that family. And I didn't talk to her about that at all. I talked to her about picking raspberries. But, yeah, like, her life was affected by that police raid.
Well, and then how do you go to school?
Yeah.
You know, how do you then get up the next day and go to school and learn how to read? You don't.
Yeah.
You don't, because your brain is...
How do you get up? How do you be awake for... How do you be awake most of the day for school? Like that's a...
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not the school's fault, and so you can't... So, as a black person, what does it say to you that, you know, here, again, the 29,700 of them that live here, like, how are they being told that their life matters? They're forced by segregation based on wealth, and because remember, race and real estate are connected to one another. So they're more or less based on the decisions of all sorts of other people that have the capacity to move into here and don't. They're more or less segregated into one space.
Yeah.
They go to schools that can't support them and can't educate them.
Yeah.
And then they're put back into the community where they have no marketable skills, no resources, no marketable skills.
No, like, and by resources, I mean, if something bad happens to them, they have nothing to fall back on. Like, they don't have, like, a mom or a dad that, you know, that owns their house, that have accumulated wealth over centuries.
Right. It's not like they can call up grandma who's got a couple $100,000 in her 401k, and she could probably give you $500 if you needed it. That doesn't exist.
And that just reminds me of when... So our neighbor recently moved out, and she's 90, and everyone came and kind of like took what they wanted out of her home. And we went into the home and we're like, it's a total gut. And people were taking things out of that home.
Well, I mean, she lives in a house, like, I think what you're trying to say is she lives in, well, multiple things.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably something to unpack later on.
Yeah.
So, but you're forced for 29,700 of them, or whatever the number is. The number's irrelevant, but it's about that many, and they're forced into this system that they have very little chance of getting out of.
Yes.
And how do you then say that your life matters because you were basically stuck into this? So going back to that picture, you know what?
Yeah, rest in power.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's rest in power. Yeah, it's almost like now his life wasn't in vain.
Yeah.
And I look around here, and many of these lives were lived in vain.
Yeah.
There's no hope of getting out of the cycle.
Huh. There's no hope of your life being any different. So why would you bother?
There's no hope of your life. There's not that it matters what a bunch of white people think about your life, but the thing I have said since I was 18 years old is I just want my life to matter. I want to do something so that, like, when I'm on my deathbed, I think of, like, oh, I accomplished this, and I did this, and I lived out my dreams, and I was successful, and
happy.
I had a happy, productive, successful life. And It's really hard to do that here. It's really, really hard. It's not hard for us, which is a side. That's an aside, but I'm thinking about some of the guys that are working over at the garden, like the 18, 19-year-old. What is a meaningful life?
Yeah.
For them. And it's not even that. It's not like that they can't have a meaningful life. It's that there's certain things that we all take for granted that are easy for us to do, that allow us to live our own lives on our own terms.
Yeah.
And because we can do that, they have meaning. And you know, if I'm just thinking of a kid from the garden, and if his meaning in his life was that he was going to be an engineer, what do you think the realistic chances of him becoming an engineer are?
Like 2%.
And why would that be?
Just because he doesn't have any pathway. Like, he doesn't have anyone helping him get there. There's no pathway for him to be able to even know where to get started.
Yeah, there's no access.
Yeah.
Yeah. Power and access are tied together pretty closely. See, the thing about power is you can give away power.
Yeah.
And when you give away power, a lot of times it creates access. What the kid from the garden needs is he needs somebody to come alongside of him and show him how to become an engineer. I don't know if he wants to be an engineer. This is just an example, but he did not have. He needs so much. There needs to be such a powerful movement of energy in his life.
Yeah.
To give him access. And a lot of times what we do is instead of seeing the outcomes of whatever ends up happening with his life, any of the negative outcomes are going to be blamed on him.
Yes.
And
exactly.
The positive ones are probably not even going to necessarily be talked about.
Or if they are talked about, they're going to be overshadowed by this program that helped him succeed.
Oh, sure.
Because it's going to be somebody else that's helping him lift him out of this situation.
Yeah. So, yeah, because it would take a huge disruption.
Yes.
In his life to get him, again, like, let's just use the engineering example, like, and I think I'm using that example because I went to school to be an engineer. And
we push May to, we push our kids to think high, to think of like a higher, think of higher education and what you want to be, and so an engineer.
Well, and this is so many layers now, but like, I went to school to be an engineer and it was so easy. I didn't have to try at all. I had to try in like 2 classes. And like the amount of try that he would have to have in order to do that same thing. So I think that rest in power, I think it's gonna come out as access for people. Because that's where a ton of the power is. It's in being able to access something like becoming an engineer. Or it's going to be better quality education, which provides more access.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be, in the case of Milwaukee, it's going to be access into different neighborhoods. Or it's going to be people, actually what it's probably going to be is people foregoing their access.
Yes, and giving away their access, giving away their power, Yeah. If somebody moved into that yellow house that, was an engineer.
Right.
Okay, like now.
Yeah, right?
Now the kids from the garden could have access. Like,
right.
It's a very easy, here's how you do that. Here's what I did.
Yeah.
You're not telling anything other than your story. Which is easy. It's easy. If somebody asked me how to be a web developer, I would tell them exactly what they needed to do.
Right. And you probably would hire the person to...
Yeah.
And be like, come on. Like, come over and web develop with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if a kid was like, I really want to get into real estate and renovating houses. I'd be like, all right, cool. Let's go build something together, kid. Huh. Yeah.
But I think another thing that, like, shows is, like, people from our neighborhood, like, they want to be the things that they see. So, like, a lot of them want to be a teacher, or like they don't see, like, they obviously see teachers, they obviously see like healthcare workers, or like elder care workers, group home workers, and so I think that's a big thing. Like, if they had access to knowing people that were engineers, or knowing people that were web developers, maybe I should talk with more kids about being web developers.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so rest in power.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's good. It's appropriate. It's fitting.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't take another person to have to die for the power to be given away and access to be created.
Yeah.
So thanks for cutting that tree down.
I'm excited about it.
It's good for the neighborhood.
Go over and take a look at it.
Yeah. Probably a bunch of free firewood too.
Ooh.
It's all dead. It's
Yeah.
probably dry. Well, you want to go do something?
Yeah.
All right. Signing off. Bye.